The Iranian Kilo-class submarine is the one piece of hardware in the IRIN inventory that the United States Navy does not treat as background noise. Every other asset in the Iranian order of battle comes with a mental asterisk. The SH, 3 helicopters, held together by institutional memory and determination. The fast boats that are individually manageable and collectively a genuine headache. The missile inventory that ranges from credible to aspirational, depending on the specific variant and the specific day. The Kilo is different. The Kilo is a Russian-designed diesel-electric submarine that entered service with the Soviet Navy in the 1980s and earned, through operational performance across multiple navies, a nickname in Western intelligence circles that captures its most operationally relevant property: the black hole. The Kilo runs on electric motors when submerged and can, at low speed in the right acoustic conditions, produce a noise signature that is genuinely difficult to distinguish from ambient ocean sound. In the shallow, thermally complex, commercially congested waters of the Strait of Hormuz, where the background acoustic environment is a continuous overlay of tanker propellers, biological noise, and the general electromagnetic clutter of one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, a Kilo, moving slowly and carefully, is a serious problem. Iran has 3 of them. Tonight, one of them is in the water, and it is not cooperating. The specific Kilo that concerns us this evening is the IRIN Fateh, commissioned in 2019, and the most modern of Iran's 3 boats, a domestically modified variant of the original Russian design, updated with Iranian installed systems that intelligence assessments describe as a genuine improvement over the unmodified export configuration. The modifications are not fully characterized. That is, in fact, part of what tonight is going to address. The Fateh departed Bandar Abbas submarine base at some point in the preceding 48 hours. The precise departure time is not confirmed because a Kilo at low speed in Hormuz traffic is not trivially trackable from the assets that monitor the strait continuously, and the Fateh's crew appears to have used the outbound merchant traffic as acoustic cover for the transit in a manner that suggests they have read the relevant doctrine carefully. They are good at this. The crew of the Fateh is not a collection of undertrained operators running equipment they do not understand. They are submarine mariners who have trained on this boat, know its capabilities and its limitations, and are operating it with the professional competence that makes the Kilo class the one Iranian naval asset that produces genuine planning conversations rather than dismissive footnotes. Aboard USS Firebolt, PC-1, the lead ship of the United States Navy's Cyclone-class patrol, coastal vessels, commissioned in 1993 and displacing approximately 331 tons at full load. The 0300 watch is maintaining station in the western approaches to the Strait of Hormuz, 3 nautical miles ahead of a very large crude carrier making 12 knots toward the Gulf of Oman. Firebolt's mission tonight is the mission Cyclone-class vessels exist to perform: close escort of high-value commercial traffic through the strait's contested approaches, presence operations, and the kind of visible surface coverage that deters the harassment of commercial shipping that has been a recurring feature of the operational environment in this part of the world for years. Firebolt is not an anti-submarine warfare platform. She carries 25mm Mark 38 chain guns, .50 caliber mounts, and Mark 19 grenade launchers. What she does not carry is a torpedo tube, an ASROC launcher, or any of the other systems that would allow her to engage a submarine contact directly. She can detect, she can report, she can hold contact until the assets that can do something about it arrive. She is, in the ASW picture, the tripwire. At 3:17, the towed array sonar system aboard USS Firebolt, the AN/SQR-19, a passive towed array that is the primary reason Firebolt can contribute to the ASW picture despite her modest displacement, returns an anomaly. The sonar operator, who has been listening to the acoustic environment of the Hormuz approaches for 6 hours with the specific attention that night watches in this part of the world require, flags the contact at 3:17 and upgrades it to a possible classification at 3:22. The classification is tentative. Possible submerged contact, bearing 170, range indeterminate, acoustic signature, consistent with low-speed diesel-electric propulsion in battery mode. The uncertainty in the range estimate is genuine. The shallow water thermoclines and the noise floor from the VLCC ahead are making precise localization difficult. What the sonar operator is confident about is the character of what she is hearing. It is not biologic. It is not a current artifact. It is mechanical, faint and consistent in its bearing hold. Something is down there and it is moving. This is the vulnerability window, and it runs from 3:17 until 4:09, and it is worth understanding with precision why it is real. USS Firebolt has the contact. USS Firebolt cannot act on the contact with the assets she carries. The nearest MH-60R Seahawk helicopter with ASW loadout is aboard USS Monterey, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser operating in the Eastern Gulf, approximately 89 nautical miles to the northeast, a transit time of approximately 40 minutes at the Seahawk's best cruise speed. The P-8A Poseidon from VP-4 that has been tasked to the Hormuz surveillance zone tonight is currently 140 nautical miles to the southwest, on the return leg of a surface surveillance racetrack, and requires approximately 31 minutes to reach the contact area. Firebolt has transmitted the contact report to 5th Fleet and to Monterey at 3:23. The Seahawk is being launched. The P-8 is turning. Everything is moving toward the contact. But for the next 31 to 40 minutes, USS Firebolt is alone with whatever is on bearing 170, with a towed array and a radio, and nothing else that matters. The Fateh, if it is the Fateh, is also aware of something. The Kilo's passive sonar, the MGK-400EM suite in the original configuration, modified in the Iranian variant in ways that the intelligence community has not fully characterized, is painting a surface picture that includes the VLCC ahead, the Firebolt off to the northwest, and a general acoustic environment that is exactly the operationally complex picture the crew trained to work in. The Kilo is moving at approximately 3 knots. At 3 knots on battery, the Kilo's own noise signature drops to the level that earned it the black hole designation. The crew is running quiet. The crew has been running quiet for some time. The question of whether the Kilo knows it has been detected by Firebolt's towed array is, for the next several minutes, genuinely uncertain. Kilo skippers in this operational environment are trained to assume they are being listened to. Whether they are confident in that assumption tonight at 3:22 is not something Firebolt's sonar operator can determine from a towed array bearing hold. The P-8A arrives on station at 03:54, 31 minutes after being tasked. The crew has been briefed by a secure data link during the transit and arrives with Firebolt's contact data already loaded into the acoustic processing system. The P-8 drops 2 sonobuoys at 03:56 on a bearing and range estimate derived from Firebolt's towed array hold, a DIFAR buoy for directional bearing and an low-FAR buoy optimized for the frequency range associated with the Kilo's electric motor signature. The buoys hit the water. The processing begins. The acoustic picture begins to resolve in a way that a single towed array on a moving surface platform cannot achieve. At 4:01, the P-8's acoustic processor returns a confirmed classification. Submerged contact, Kilo class, speed approximately 3 knots. Course, northwest, bearing consistent with a track that would take the contact through the Strait's main shipping channel on a heading parallel to the VLCC's course. Range from Firebolt's position, approximately 4 nautical miles. The contact is not approaching Firebolt. It is not approaching the VLCC directly. It is moving through the strait in a manner that is consistent with a surveillance and intelligence collection mission, gathering acoustic data on commercial traffic, potentially recording the electromagnetic environment, and operating in waters that the IRIN has every legal right to be in, as the Strait of Hormuz lies within Iranian and Omani territorial waters and the right of transit passage applies to all vessels including submarines in submerged transit. What the Fateh is doing tonight is entirely legal. The Iranian Navy has submarines. Submarines transit the strait. Transit passage permits submerged transit. This is the framework, and it is the correct framework, and it does not change what the P8's acoustic processor is now doing with 4 minutes of confirmed Kilo-class signature data, collected at close range under operational conditions in the exact acoustic environment: shallow water, thermocline complexity, high commercial noise floor, that the Kilo was designed to exploit. The P8's acoustic signature library for the Kilo class is extensive. The library entry for the IRIN variant specifically is less extensive, because close-range direct acoustic collection on Iranian Kilos under operational conditions is not a daily occurrence, and because the Iranian modifications to the baseline configuration introduce acoustic variables that the library entry built from Russian Kilo collection cannot fully account for. 4 minutes of confirmed contact data from 356 to 401 at an estimated 4 nautical miles in known thermal conditions with a confirmed speed and course is the kind of collection event that the acoustic intelligence community describes with the specific enthusiasm of people who understand exactly how difficult this data is to obtain by any other means. The acoustic signature being recorded right now is the Fateh's specific signature, not a generic Kilo signature, but the signature of this hull, this propulsion configuration, these modifications, at this speed, in these conditions. Every hull has individual acoustic characteristics that differ from the class average in measurable ways. The Fateh's individual characteristics are being measured. They are being logged with timestamps, thermal data, and range estimates. They are going into a file that does not yet have a precise entry for the Fateh specifically, and will have one by the time the P8 lands. The electric motor harmonic is slightly lower than the baseline Kilo entry. The acoustic sensor operator aboard the P8 notes to the mission commander at approximately 4:04. The observation is technical and precise. The mission commander asks for a frequency value. The acoustic sensor operator gives him 47.3 hertz versus the 49.1 hertz baseline in the library. The difference is 1.8 hertz. That is consistent with a propulsion modification, the acoustic sensor operator says. They may have replaced the motor windings. Different winding configuration changes the fundamental frequency. The mission commander notes it. The 1.8 hertz difference goes into the collection log. It will eventually tell analysts something about the Iranian modification program for the Kilo's propulsion system that the existing technical assessments have not been able to confirm from imagery or signals collection alone. Acoustic intelligence at close range is one of the few collection methods that can directly characterize a submarine's propulsion state. Tonight's data is doing exactly that. The MH-60R Seahawk from USS Monterey arrives at 4:09. The vulnerability window closes. The Seahawk deploys its dipping sonar and establishes an independent contact on the Kilo's track, corroborating the P8's classification and providing a precise localization fix that triangulates the contact to within approximately 400 meters. The Kilo is at 4 nautical miles from Firebolt, moving at 3 knots on a northwest course, at a depth that the sonobuoy pressure sensor data suggests is approximately 60 meters, operating in the middle layer of the Strait's water column, above the main thermocline, but below the surface layer noise. The crew is professional. The depth selection is operationally sound. On the bridge of USS Firebolt, the commanding officer is managing the tactical picture with the settled attention of someone whose vessel has done precisely what it was supposed to do. Found the contact, held it, called in the assets, and maintained the bridge between detection and response for 52 minutes. His ship cannot prosecute this contact. His ship has already done the most important thing his ship can do, which is ensure the contact does not go untracked while the capable assets transit. The VLCC ahead is now 6 nautical miles from the contact's projected track, on a course that the contact does not appear to be closing. The commercial vessel is not in immediate danger. The contact is being tracked continuously by 2 platforms. The situation is managed. The commanding officer picks up his coffee. It is 4:09. The coffee has been made at 3 o'clock and is in the condition that coffee made at 3 o'clock occupies at 4:09, which is to say it is not ideal, but it is present and it is warm enough. He drinks it. The picture is good. The Fateh, for its part, is doing what Kilo submarines do when the acoustic environment changes above them in a way that suggests the surface traffic has been joined by a helicopter with a dipping sonar. The dipping sonar produces a characteristic transient sound when it enters the water, a sound that any well-trained submarine sonar man recognizes immediately, because recognizing it is an important professional skill if you intend to continue operating. The Fateh's sonar man recognizes it at approximately 4:11. He reports it to the Fateh's commanding officer. The commanding officer receives the report. He consults his tactical picture. He has been in the strait for 2 days. He has collected what he came to collect. The operational window for this mission, as defined by the fuel state of the battery bank and the acoustic environment now developing above him, is approaching its planned conclusion. The commanding officer gives the order. The Fateh continues on its northwest course, maintaining depth, maintaining speed, maintaining the professional discipline that makes the Kilo class the asset it is. The crew does not panic. The crew does not accelerate. The crew continues doing exactly what it was doing, because the doctrine for this situation calls for continued quiet operation until the geometry changes, and the geometry has not yet changed. The geometry changes at 4:23, when the MH-60R repositions its dipping sonar to the northwest, and the sonobuoy pattern the P-8 has been building closes the gap on the contact's projected track. The P-8 adds 2 additional sonobuoys at 0424, extending the tracking fence. The localization picture improves. The contact is now tracked to within 200 meters with high confidence. The P-8's acoustic sensor operator is noting the contact's behavior and comparing it against the library entry for Kilo response to close acoustic contact. She is not reacting to the sonar, the acoustic sensor operator says, at 4:26. She is holding course and speed. No sprint, no turn. He marks this in the collection log. That is consistent with the operational doctrine described in the 2019 assessment. The 2019 assessment of IRIN submarine tactics described a doctrine of calm continuation when detection was suspected but not confirmed, designed to avoid providing the surface contacts with the acoustic event of a speed change that would allow precise localization. The Fateh's behavior tonight is entirely consistent with that doctrine. The behavior is also being logged as a behavioral data point that will update the tactical picture on IRIN submarine doctrine. Everything confirms the assessment. The assessment has never had this quality of confirming data before. At 4:41, the Fateh reaches the western end of the strait's main shipping channel, and the depth changes as the water shoals. A submerged contact at 60 meters in water that is shoaling toward 40 meters is approaching a geometry that offers reduced tactical options. The Kilo's commanding officer knows this. At 4:43, the contact shows a slight course change, a turn to the south, towards slightly deeper water along the Omani side of the strait. The turn is logged by the P-8 and the MH-60R simultaneously. It is a professional, measured course adjustment. It is not evasion. It is navigation. The sonar operators above track it continuously. The P-8's collection log at 4:43 now covers 47 minutes of continuous acoustic tracking on a confirmed Kilo-class contact in operational conditions. The data includes the propulsion frequency anomaly at 47.3 hertz, the depth profile across 3 distinct water column layers, the course and speed behavior under suspected detection conditions, the doctrinal response to dipping sonar contact, and the navigational decision pattern at the western shoaling zone. The acoustic sensor operator is composing the preliminary collection summary while the tracking continues. The summary will eventually be incorporated into a collection report that the naval intelligence community will categorize as the highest quality direct acoustic intelligence on the IRIN Fateh collected since the boat's commissioning. The categorization will be accurate. At 5:14, the Fateh surfaces, not in distress, not because she has been forced to the surface. She surfaces because diesel-electric submarines surface when their battery state requires it, and the battery state requires it. The Fateh has been submerged for an extended period. The recharge cycle is operational necessity, not tactical failure. The surfacing is logged by both the P-8 and the MH-60R. The surface contact appears on Firebolt's radar at 5:15. The Kilo's sail is visible in the growing pre-dawn light, approximately 7 nautical miles from Firebolt's position. She is flying the IRIN ensign. She is, by every observable measure, a warship of the Islamic Republic of Iran, conducting lawful operations in the Strait of Hormuz, which is exactly what she is. The conning tower is visible. 2 lookouts are in the bridge cockpit. The crew is conducting normal surfaced operations. On the P-8, the imaging sensor slews to the surfaced contact and begins a visual documentation run. The Kilo's external configuration, the sail profile, the antenna mast arrangement, the visible hull equipment, is photographed from multiple angles across 14 minutes as the boat completes its diesel recharge cycle. The photographs will accompany the acoustic collection report. The imagery analysts who review them will compare the Fateh's current external configuration against the commissioning photographs and the last available imagery, looking for observable modifications that correlate with the acoustic anomalies identified tonight. The 1.8 Hz motor frequency difference suggests a propulsion modification. If the imagery shows a modified snorkel arrangement or a changed battery ventilation configuration, the correlation becomes evidence. The analysts will look for it. The full collection report runs to 44 pages. It is transmitted by the P-8 at 6:31 during the transit back to base, formatted and distributed to 5th Fleet, to the Naval Intelligence Support Center, to the Submarine Forces Intelligence Program, and via established channels to the intelligence services of allied nations that operate submarines in the Gulf region or maintain threat assessments against the IRIN submarine inventory. The 44 pages represent the most comprehensive operational acoustic characterization of an IRIN Kilo class submarine collected under actual submerged operational conditions. They are read in the relevant inboxes with the specific attention that material of this quality receives. The cost accounting for the evening runs as follows. USS Firebolt, fuel, crew time, 6 hours of watch. P-8, approximately 8 hours of flight time, including the rerouting, fuel, crew time, and 12 sonobuoys at roughly $2,000 each. MH-60R, 40 minutes of flight time, fuel, crew. Total U.S. expenditure on a surveillance and collection mission that produced 44 pages of first-quality Kilo acoustic intelligence, a number that the relevant program offices can calculate with precision, and that, compared against the analytical value of the 47.3 Hz motor frequency datum alone, which will inform torpedo guidance updates, acoustic search pattern parameters, and detection threshold calculations across the fleet, represents the kind of cost-benefit arithmetic that nobody in the ASW community finds disappointing. Now let us talk about what Iranian state media said happened, because the IRIN's public affairs approach to submarine operations is a specific and interesting genre. The IRIN released a statement at 10:00 Tehran time, approximately 5 hours after the Fateh completed its surfaced recharge and began transiting back toward Bandar Abbas. The statement described a successful operational patrol by a submarine unit of the Islamic Republic of Iran Navy in the Strait of Hormuz, conducted in strict accordance with international maritime law and the sovereign right of the Iranian Navy to operate in Iranian territorial and transit waters. The statement noted that American and Allied surveillance aircraft and surface vessels had been present in the area and had monitored the patrol, which the IRIN described as evidence of the American Navy's concern about Iranian submarine capability. This framing is technically accurate. American assets were present, They were monitoring. The monitoring produced 44 pages. The second statement from an IRIN spokesperson at the afternoon media briefing described the Fateh's patrol as a demonstration of the Iranian submarine force's operational readiness and its capacity to operate effectively in the complex acoustic environment of the Strait of Hormuz without interruption. The spokesperson is correct that the patrol was completed without interruption. The patrol's mission, surveillance of commercial traffic, acoustic collection on the maritime environment, operational proficiency in strait conditions, was completed. The Fateh returned to Bandar Abbas having done what it was sent to do. None of this is disputed. The IRIN submarine force is genuinely capable. The Kilo is genuinely dangerous. This story does not end with the submarine neutralized or embarrassed. It ends with a submarine that did its job well, and with a surveillance and collection architecture that did its job better, and with the 47.3 hertz datum in a database that was waiting for exactly this measurement. Aboard USS Firebolt, the commanding officer is completing his watch log at 5:47. The entry covers the towed array contact at 0317, the contact report at 0323, the P8 arrival at 0354, the MH-60R arrival at 0409, the continuous tracking through the surfacing at 0514, and the visual documentation and run. The entry does not use the word triumph because official logs do not use the word triumph. The entry is precise, factual, and complete. It notes the contact classification, the tracking duration, the asset coordination, and the outcome. The outcome is submerged contact tracked continuously for 1 hour and 57 minutes, surfaced at 5:14, monitored through recharge, departed on southwest course at 5:31. Intelligence collection. Significant. The last line of the entry. The commanding officer reviews it. He considers whether to underline it. He decides against it. Official logs maintain their register. He picks up his coffee. It is now thoroughly cold. He drinks it anyway. The watch is almost complete. The sun is coming up over the Strait of Hormuz, painting the water the specific orange gold that this part of the world produces in the early morning, which is the single unambiguously beautiful thing about operating in the Persian Gulf at 5:47 after a 6-hour watch. The Fateh is 7 miles to the southwest, running on diesels, transiting home. The P8 is on its way back to base. The MH-60R is back aboard Monterey. 44 pages are in 5 inboxes. The 47.3 hertz datum is in the library. The strait is busy with morning traffic, which means it is normal, which is the correct outcome. Bye for now.